Hi, my name is Shelley Williams. My career goals are to become a science teacher at a higher education institution. My goal as a teacher is to spark in my students a lifelong interest of science and the expected world, forming imaginative and thoughtful adults who can work both autonomously and collaboratively. As you shadow through my slides, you'll find my vision statement to be supportive of a routinely mindful environment for my upcoming classroom or anyone interested in pursuing such a strong position of cultural growth as an educator. On this slide, I would like to discuss the types of learners and hidden curriculum. My desire to be a science teacher goes beyond the classroom. When reading the attainment versus capacities, a part stands out to support my overview on how to implement the hidden curriculum into the teaching experience. It mentions the development of a self-assurance in which supports my goals as a teacher. According to the New York Times, Dewey stated, this attitude, which resulted in a sense of positive power, involved, of course, elimination of fear of embarrassment, of constraint, of self-consciousness, eliminated the conditions which created the feeling of failure and incapacity. A way of approaching such topics could be accomplished through projects displayed that the student completed as a team effort, showing various cultures around the world, allowing everyone to share something unique about themselves and take time to be informed of their peers. Technology allows many ways of exploring various countries and can be part of the process. This learning environment is part of the key process of an educational setting for a child. Their surroundings should be coupled with materials to strike interest in all subjects of the education. How the room is arranged, designed, and while working on a diverse environment to visually attract their attention. Dr. Maria Montessori wrote, education is a natural process carried out by the child and is not acquired by listening to words, but the experiences and the environment. Critical thinking is being used throughout all learning experiences of a classroom. This is part of our most common practices, methods of teaching, and is applied inversely dependent upon the topic being covered. Through activism, critical thinking is improved significantly. It is important to know that with critical thinking, it can guide what issues are worth fighting for and puts forth a more logical state of mind rather than being emotional based, and know that all cannot be resolved, but effort should be made with critical thinking and applying those skills required. When discussing the achievement gap, there are many factors that play into that define the issue. It refers to the inequality of academic success and performance among groups of the student body. The gap displays strongly in standardized test scores, lack of selection for available courses, college rate of completion, grades, dropout percentages, and other achievement measures. We should attempt to change our perspectives by providing a rigorous curriculum that, amongst all students, will achieve at high levels with a balanced instruction. Also, it would be of benefit to introduce supplemental instruction to help meet the gaps in areas of students that are struggling in small group settings. Cultural bias is best defined by Yangst when discussing cultural bias. Cultural bias involves a prejudiced or highlighted distinction in viewpoint that suggests a preference of one culture over another. Cultural bias can be described as discriminative. There's a lack of group of integration of social values, beliefs, and rules of conduct. Cultural bias introduces one group's accepted behavior as valued and distinguishable from another lesser valued social group. Cultural bias has been found to be a factor in determining where a particular persons live and what they have available as educational, health, and care opportunities. Textual evidence of cultural bias lays within our history and textbooks. Misinformation and deceptive stories can cause a child to cultivate the mistaken mentality about historical events, all the while making it harder to change the future if we cannot acknowledge and discuss the past. An improved and factual understanding will allow us to shorten the gap and lessen cultural bias eventually within the schools. Now let's explore culture as a disability and cultural conflicts that follow. In an upright cultural setting, I would like to follow a few guidelines that would embrace a constructive classroom. I would encourage all my students to have a positive interaction amongst each other and be sure that the students have a voice and to feel empowered to ask questions with confidence. By allowing students to feel accepted to fail, it forces them to acquire their value in failure. Give feedback as often as possible to ensure that the students are on track and give room for adjustment. I would like to take the time to celebrate accomplishments regularly to build and maintain momentum within full reinforcement of our goals made and met. High expectations should be set, not only academically, but socially. Students will rise up as outlooks are set by the teacher. Cultural conflict occurs often in a classroom, but how it is dealt with matters. Have a chat with the students to better understand where the conflict may be coming from and discuss it. This in hopes could deter it happening again in the future and by making it aware before it transpires. Pop culture is a part of lives in a dominant media-based form overall. This can be used as a learning tool and be utilized in a positive manner to get through to students on many diverse levels. As a teacher, lessons that would remain in a student's minds. Popular culture may be used as a conversation starter or by using pertinent film clips to spark curiosity. Students could be encouraged to use their own media for discussion, and this may let them comprehend the educational philosophies behind the message. Most importantly, it should, in an explicit way, and be careful with copyright issues. The resources should always be approved and age material suitable. Core rituals are key to a learning environment. More notably, small rituals should be implemented, such as arrival activities, book browsing for the children to share amongst each other, having social circles, and having projects and experiences planned for the students to partake. These may often go unnoticed since they are so mundane and taken for granted. However, they are all part of the standardization that often occurs in schooling. It is very important to have a flexible but punctual routine for the students to keep in the classroom. To better understand what it means to be culturally responsive was best defined by educators' team at Understood and Understood. Culturally responsive teaching is a research-based approach that makes meaningful connections between what students learn in schools and their cultures, language, and life experiences. These connections help students access rigorous curriculum, develop higher-level academic skills, and see the relevance between what they learn in schools and their lives. Some ways I can implement this strategy is by generally trying to comprehend and relate to my students. Being thoughtful of the students' lives can help an educator foster a sense of belonging and warrant that all pupils feel valued and challenged. Finding a common ground with the students and their families can build sturdy community associations, enhancing the understanding of one another. We need to embrace our differences. Educators should find ways to innovatively bring students together with our differences and show the value of every student. By educating one another on appropriate topics, then the possibility of acceptance and understanding may occur. To conclude, with an excellent final thought from Multicurriculum's Five-Dimensional Banks on Multicultural Education, I think the teacher should make sure that whenever any issue is covered, there are several perspectives. Never can you deal with them all. That's not possible. But if you deal with several and change perspectives when you teach about an issue, you will cover a range of perspectives over time. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning how my vision statement applies to what being culturally conscious might look like for a position as an educator of science. Have a wonderful night.